The bold and improvised decision to cut a key scene.
Where the fuck is she? Where is she?
Please don't.
The deliberate manipulation of the viewer.
It's Christopher. He tried to commit suicide.
Oh my God, is he all right?
The repulsive hypocrisy of its characters and the use of this particular shot. All of it shaped one of the darkest twists in television history. An episode so brutal, it's almost nauseating to watch. A twist that changed the series forever. A descent into a darkness it could never escape.
I get it!
From that moment on, The Sopranos became something else entirely. One of the most pessimistic and emotionally desolate shows ever made. The Sopranos is a landmark chapter in television and early 2000s popular culture. Premiering in 1999, it chronicles the two lives of Tony Soprano, the personal, familial, and relatable, and the chaotic, morbidly criminal. It's one of those series that paved the way for everything that came after.
What do you want, Tony? He couldn't bring this in himself?
Hello?
Pizza.
You know what? Fuck you.
Fuck me. Fuck you.
The show is rich in tonal variety, and it knows how to separate the two worlds that coexist within it. There's the human, identifiable intimacy of each episode's family dramas, ordinary, endearing, and familiar. On the other side, there's the stark, desensitizing brutality of its criminal plots, where violence and evil can be so casual that, at times, they border on the absurd and comedic.
You're not gonna believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator.
His house looked like shit.
It's in that contrast that the deeper truths emerge, hypocrisies, denials, sharp ironies, and ultimately, injustices and a heavy pessimistic weight. Take, for example, the third season episode, University. Here we see a subtle alternation between the lives of two women of the same age, both connected to Tony Soprano. Meadow, his privileged college-age daughter, and Tracy, a dancer at Tony's club. Lover of one of his most ruthless captains, Ralph Cifaretto. This intercutting of characters throughout the episode exposes the selective morality and humanity of Tony and those around him. Meadow is portrayed with warmth and respect, her sexuality and romance explored through the lens of middle-class privilege. Within the cozy intimacy of a family environment we recognize and relate to. Tracy, by contrast, is treated as a commodity. Her misery and innocence are uncomfortable, even inconvenient, for the protagonist.
What am I looking at?
My teeth. I got braces.
What do you want, a parade?
Oh, what did I tell you about fraternizing?
I'm not. I was just showing Tony my braces.
Yeah? Well, I didn't shell out 3 crackers for you to be modeling your teeth. Get to work.
Anything else?
Through this parallel, the episode also reveals a painful truth to the audience. We too participate in this selective humanization, judging differently and softly due our viewers' sympathy while we follow them, and humanizing these sociopathic characters, and the world where they soil their hands to afford that illusion of sanctity.
Listen to me, you little bujak.
And then I go to pour the milk and the carton is empty.
It also exposes an uncomfortable truth about class and highlights a recurring theme in the series, the constant violence endured by its women. Ironically, the least brutalized woman of all is Meadow Soprano herself. It reveals the coexistence of two parallel truths, two moral dimensions that the characters drift between, switching their ethics as it suits them. And that is the episode's sole intention. To show that both worlds exist in paradox, and to leave you alone with the conclusion as the credits roll.
God, is there nothing to eat in this house?
The Sopranos goes darker season after season through episodes like this one, and with each passing season, it edges closer to breaking one of its own unbreakable laws.
His family comes before everything else. Everything.
Crossing the line dividing family and crime is a theme that gets explored throughout the entire series. Not exactly a taboo in a literal sense, but in many ways it is. Because the way the audience is guided, or rather manipulated, through shifting tones, moral values, and self-contradictory actions, especially when it comes to Tony Soprano, begins to feel like a kind of gaslighting. A psychological game that denies what the viewer once believed to be true. And eventually we reach an irreconcilable point, a breaking of trust between the characters and us. Long-term parking, episode 12 of season 5, represents that point of no return. It directly and brutally confronts this central question.
Before your wife and your children and your mother and your father. It's a thing of honor.
When things get serious, who will they choose? Family or family? This episode is among the most devastating in the entire show, not because it indulges in sentimentality, but because it reveals the worst possible version of this world and its characters. The episode unfolds across 3 narrative threads. Adriana is cornered by the FBI and confides in Christopher, who's in the middle of his worst loyalty crisis yet. New York corners Tony, pressuring him to hand over his cousin, Tony B., now working as a hitman against the Sacrimony family. Carmela finalizes a deal for a piece of land to build her dream home as part of her reconciliation with Tony. The first duo of protagonists involves a monster as tragic as it is frightening. Christopher Moltisanti, an errand boy turned hitman and captain, has slowly been losing the respect of both his uncle Tony and the crew he serves. The season marks the beginning of his descent, addiction, depression, and a deteriorating bond with his so-called family at the precise moment they're supposed to intervene him emotionally. Christopher's tragic arc is all about how he can never escape his uncle's shadow to gain his own autonomy, how he's drained by Tony piece by piece until there's nothing left to take. This episode is particularly cathartic and becomes his moment of reckoning, because it materializes the tragic decision that will haunt him until his very last scene, mirroring that previous symbolic decision he made a few seasons back. The crisis erupts in pure instability. Christopher loses faith in Tony completely as he confesses to Adriana, and she, cornered and manipulated by the FBI, trapped between 2 walls, makes her choice to trust her instinct and the man she's loyal to.
Oh my God, what are we gonna do?
With this twist, the episode and all its built-up tension narrows down to a single dilemma: Christopher's choice. What will he do? This man once hailed as the family's heir apparent. Which family will he choose? The Sopranos frequently relies on the use of the subjective shot, a cinematic device that allows its characters to speak directly to us from his own perspective. It's a way to collapse the distance between the viewer and the carefully but external constructed spaces of each scene staging, drawing us into a character's private perspective. The series in particular uses this tool to share the character's train of thought through previously established visual codes from the screenplay, condensing complex emotional ideas into brief, definitive images. And in this episode, that technique reaches one of its most significant uses. From this point on, the story will communicate its final act through these subjective shots.
I have to wait around like everyone else. Can't even get decent food. Right after I got here, I ordered some spaghetti with marinara sauce, and I got egg noodles and ketchup. I'm an average nobody. Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
There was a deleted scene, later restored in season 6, showing what happens immediately afterward when Chris decides to go see Tony, but the decision to remove it couldn't have been more effective. Its absence transforms the sequence into something sharper, more haunting, a twist that feels unexpected and treasonous. There's a delicate foreshadowing, Tony's call from a payphone, a small, easy-to-miss gesture, and from there, the suspense tightens into something cruel and cold. The use of visual subjectivity putting us entirely in Adriana's perspective, evokes the grammar of classic mafia cinema that the show has long referenced. As subjective framing returns to prominence, Adriana watches her own future slip away, quite literally through her hands. In a dreamlike scene, she envisions herself driving down a highway toward freedom. Then a sharp cut, she reacts to her own fantasy as the camera switches axis, pulling us back to the brutal truth, almost like Tony watches himself sitting in the jump cut in the final episode. Through the interplay of point of view and spatial context, we, along with Adriana, slowly realize that we are driving toward a darkness from which there is no return. And the fantasy, that fragile hope, is quietly replaced by the devastating truth that it's already far too late to escape. And so, The Sopranos, in a single moment of cruelty almost unimaginable, even for its audience and writers, breaks the sacred threshold its characters unintentionally convinced us they could never cross. The crime and family worlds collide in the most horrendous way and merge coldly in that forest. They do nothing we haven't seen them do before, but this time they cross into a space that feels disturbingly intimate, because that line first drawn in the episode of Meadow and Tracy no longer exists, and so we're left wondering, what words still hold meaning for these people, for these characters we can no longer trust? Christopher has made his choice. His tragedy is complete.
That's the guy, Adriana. My Uncle Tony. The guy I'm going to hell for.
Everything for a man who, with all his cynicism, risked a war just to avoid handing over his cousin in that same episode.
You know what, John? Go fuck yourself. You and Phil and whoever. My fucking cousin.
And watching as Christopher bears the weight of what he himself didn't have the courage to do in the episode, he just...
Fucking pain! You think you're alone in this?
Because that is the nature of Tony Soprano, to live in a hypocritical, repulsive contradiction. He luxuriates in a materialistic, superficial family intimacy, one that, more clearly than ever, beneath it all, hides a man without any real sense of moral justice, a man whose world constantly validates him. And the show leaves you alone with that truth, pessimistic, cynical, unflinching. This is, always was, and always will be, the protagonist you rooted for.
You all right?
Yeah, me, yeah. To my family. Someday soon, you're gonna have families of your own. And if you're lucky...
Come on.
No,
Come on.
please.
Where you fucking going?
Please.
Come on, come on.
You remember the little moments. Like this.
No.
Fucking cunt.
Please. No.
Absolutely. I get it!